All right, and we're live, and I am here with my frequent sidekick, Artistic Layman.
Hello, everyone.
Pastor Tom's with us,
Hello.
and NC Clark might be joining us in a bit. Her current show is running a little late, so we're kind of overlapping a bit, but that's no problem because most people don't listen to these things live anyways. All right, so a few topics we're going to cover today. We're going to be talking about, of course, Roy Moore and Al Franken. Those are some of the big topics. I want to talk about the Maddox lawsuit. I just saw the video by Internet Aristocrat or Mr. Medica or whatever, and that's kind of interesting because I've always kind of hated Maddox. He's always kind of irritated me. It always struck me as that paper alpha kind of shit with him, and it turned out to be that. The makeup app, that's triggering a bunch of people. But first, on a lighter note, let's talk about a little activity done by the Navy here recently. Lots of fun. The Naval Air, okay, here we go. The Naval Air Station, Winterberry Island in Washington admitted one of its aircraft was involved in drawing lewd images in the sky on Thursday. Basically, a Navy pilot decided to, with the little sky drawing thing, and decided that he was going to draw a big old penis, big old cock and balls in the sky. And I actually was really kind of glad when I saw this because. I mean, I kind of worried that, our entire military had turned into nothing but like trannies and women and faggots. So that the idea that there's actual guys left who have senses of humor and shit like that kind of made me smile a little bit.
It only cost the taxpayers $50,000.
Well, I mean... What was the Simpsons bit where they talked about the Blue Angels being America's favorite waste of taxpayer money?
Yeah. But
yeah, I'm glad there's a little bit of rowdiness left in the military. I'm glad they haven't been completely neutered. That some pilot decided, you know what this guy needs today? A big old pair of cock and ball, a big old thing of cock and balls, right? This guy. So I mean, there's not a lot to say on that. Other than, that's pretty cool. I mean, I hope Trump invites him to the White House.
Imagine what the whole team could do with Blue Angels.
Oh, dear.
Just decided to draw cock and balls in the sky. Oh, man. You got to enjoy the simple pleasures in life, That's funny. Well, what's not funny, Luke? Could you bring up the bicycle webcomic? This some cuck, no doubt, decided to draw up this webcomic here. So. I'll read it here. My bike got stolen recently. I was pretty bummed about it. But I think whoever stole it was probably more happy to get it than I am sad to lose it. The total happiness in the world is increased. So whatever. And throw up a couple of the jokes. This has turned into this huge joke. Like here's one where, my wife got fucked recently. But he was happier to get laid than I am to get cucked. And then the Kangs one. That one's fucking great. This is the best one I have ever seen. Everything about this parody is perfect. I stole a bike recently. Whoever I stole it from was probably a cuck. But I think I didn't do nothing. We was Kangs. And then the chart there, it's reparations spelled wrong and fuck whitey.
Reparations.
That's the best one. I've seen a bunch of parodies of this. I saw one where it was like Sonic was killed recently and Tails was all sad about it, but the total happiness was increased because Robotnik was happier to kill him. And then the one making fun of the Lost webcomic, that famous meme. My baby died recently. This is just tons of people have been making fun of this because it just kind of goes to show you that cucked nature. Like I'm gonna be happy for the assholes who stole my bike. What kind of shit is that? Like that just epitomizes liberalism, doesn't it? Just epitomizes that shit.
And if nothing else, it proves that the left cannot meme even when they have complete control of the imagery.
Well, okay, take that concept and apply it to everyone who's accused of sexual assault right now, and you'll see how it fails.
I think I think Harvey Weinstein was probably happier to get pussy.
Exactly.
Well, look, I mean, I understand the idea of, you can obviously go too far in it into just pure utilitarianism, which in a way this comic kind of does. But the idea that, hey, we want the most amount of people in the world to have the most amount of happiness. That's a good drive. That should be one of the drives of society, but it needs to be tempered against things like, I don't know, justice. Like, hey, that's my fucking bike.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is a Christian concept, right? If someone steals your, cloak, give them your shirt as well, and that kind of thing. So, I mean, that idea is not unheard of, and there's nothing wrong with that. But like you said, it does need to be balanced with the idea of justice. Stealing is wrong. It really, I mean, what more can you say about this than what a fucking cuck? And this jackass thought he was doing something. He thought he was making this really, really profound comic when he did that too. That's the funny thing. Like he thought, oh, I'm showing. My wife got fucked recently. But yeah, this caught my. I've seen it passed around. I actually saw my wife got fucked recently one before I saw the real one, and I had seen this guy's webcomic before, and it's had its funny moments, but it is kind of cucky. And for a second, I honestly thought that was the real one. Like I'm like, no, that can't be what it actually is. Can somebody send me the original? I stole a bike today. We was kangs. Yeah. So I definitely wanted to touch on that a little bit because what a cuck. What a fucking cuck. Whoever I stole it from was probably a cuck. Yeah, you're right there. Speaking of cucks, let's talk about Maddox, shall we? So the Mr. Medicare, the gym video, I caught that. I guess it was last night. I think it was when it first came out. Basically, Maddox is suing his former friend, Dick Masterson. Misty, my bike got stolen. I think whoever stole it was probably a little bitch who'll never win a Pokemon League.
So whatever. Psyduck.
Total number of tournaments lost. Anyways, back to Maddox. Basically, apparently, Maddox is claiming in this lawsuit that Dick Masterson, his former partner, who has his own little internet business, which is far more successful, as Jim pointed out in his video, Maddox is making a whopping $255 on Patreon. Dick Masterson is making $20,000 a month. Bit of a difference there. So apparently Dick Masterson likes to make fun of Maddox a lot, which doesn't surprise me. Is that Dick Masterson?
That's the only image I could find. Oh wait, here's it is kind of. Let me see if I can find a better picture.
I've seen a video of that guy arguing with some chick on some news show about how men are smarter than women, and just making a complete fool out of her.
Yeah, it probably is the same guy.
It is, yeah. Oh, well, yeah, Dick Masterson's funny as shit. I've seen a little bit of stuff. But apparently he likes to shit on his former partner Maddox a lot. He's had contests where he has, fans do photoshops embarrassing of Maddox, and he has like a character called Mad Cucks.
He makes a living out of mocking someone. How awesome is that?
I don't think that's all he does by any stretch. I don't think his entire show is the fuck Maddox show. Like the fuck that guy show.
But it'd be pretty cool if
it was. As Jim pointed out, if that's really what it is, like shit, sign me up. Let me get some of that sweet making fun of Maddox money. I'll make fun of Maddox every week for a mere $5,000 a month. Well, Maddox is. I think I can't remember if it was after or before the show, but we were talking a little bit about Vox Day, and Maddox is a lot like Vox Day in that they are the quintessential Gen Xer. We've all heard the phrase in these parts of the internet, the eternal boomer. Well, I would submit to you, there's also the eternal Gen Xer, and that's where you've spent your whole life taking the piss out of everything else around you because you're just so smarter than everything else. But you lose your shit when people start taking the piss out of you. And we saw this with Vox Day. We saw what a fool he made out of himself with, somebody called me a pedophile on Gab. So I'm going to fucking, I don't even want to say he was trying to sue Gab. He was threatening that he was going to have a court order where Gab had to give him the information of the people he wanted to sue. But he allowed it to be framed in a way where he put himself as an enemy to Gab because he just didn't care. He was just going to go burn down the world. He should have made a complete fool out of that Nazi idiot he was debating. I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head. I'm blanking on the name. I think it was the Daily Stormer dude or something. I don't know. They all blend together. But Vox allowed himself to be made a fool of because he can't handle the bants. He just can't. He loves it when he's smarter than the guy he's banting, or when he's just a little more quick on his feet and he's able to make fools of them. He loves that. He loves it as long as he's winning. But the moment he's not, he wants to take his ball and go home. And that is the eternal Gen Xer. And that's Maddox. 10 years ago, you want to talk like 04, 05, something like that. Oh, Maddox videos, they were the hot shit to be passed around. Sean Baby's another good example of that ilk. If you've ever seen like SeanBaby.com, SeanBaby.com, like around 03, was one of the funniest fucking things on the internet. And then it was just a couple years ago, Sean Baby came out against Gamergate. Kind of shit like that. These guys, Maddox had a video recently where he talked about how he doesn't like how people use the word cuck. Because A, it could mean anything, and B, there's nothing wrong with being a cuckold.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So, you see it, and I mean, shit, you look at Maddox, you look at Sean Baby, you look at Vox Day, they almost all kind of look the same. You know what I mean? It's just that same kind of way they carry themselves. The eternal Gen Xer.
Which is actually fitting since Paul Joseph Watson had a video about soy boys and how very similar they all seem to act and look.
Oh, shit. Gavin McInnes is a good example of a Gen Xer, the eternal Gen Xer. They're so good at taking the piss out of everything else. But boy, do they lose their shit when it happens to them. And look, nobody likes being made fun of, okay? But you got to roll with the bants a little bit, people call me an asshole all the time online. People make fun of me all the time. And more than a few times, I have it coming. And you just got to roll with it. But these are all guys that their egos just don't handle it. Vox Day on his blog, Gab.ai is looking to get in the next few weeks, next few months, a major surge. Because what's going to happen is Twitter, if you haven't heard, is going ape shit here in the next few weeks about banning anyone to the right of Karl Marx. I mean, they're going to ban you for stuff you didn't even do on Twitter. That's official policies now. You can be banned for things you do off the site. They're going to take verification marks away from everybody. They're going to go apeshit. They're going to double down, and you're going to see a huge influx to Gab or similar sites. Meanwhile, Vox Day, because he had a little pissing contest with Gab that he basically lost, is continuous to this day talking about Gab's implosion. And he was talking like, because Twitter's collapsing, so you should support alternative sites like Infogalactic, which, as I understand it, is an alternative to Wikipedia. It doesn't even serve the same purpose as Twitter.
No, I would say a competitor to Gab in terms of alternative would probably be Minds.
Yeah, Minds is another. You could maybe say Minds all benefit more than Gab, but one or both of them is going to benefit in the next couple of months from Twitter deciding to shoot itself in the dick. I mean, that's inevitable. But yeah, you got the eternal Gen Xer. So the eternal Gen Xer, Maddox, is butthurt over the fact that its former partner is making gobs of money, and nobody remembers Maddox was a thing, and Maddox is making $255. Within a year's time, I might be making more than that than him on Patreon. All right, and I'm nobody. I think right now I'm at like $50. Okay.
Hint, hint to everybody.
Yeah. By the way, support my Patreon. If for no other reason, I kept saying like I want to laugh at Spoonie if I ever make more than him. Same with Maddox. I want to just like send him a message, be like, "Hey, guess what? I'm nobody and I make more than you."
Oh.
Maddox is creating new episodes of the best show in the universe. Unfortunately, no one is giving a shit. Dick Masterson is creating the Dick Show. Look at that. And Jim's video was $20,000 a month. I don't know if the thing you're showing me there, Luke, is 3. So it's still a huge gap between the two of them. But yeah, Maddox has decided he's suing Dick Masterson, and he's suing Patreon because Patreon's letting Dick Masterson run this harassment campaign against Maddox. It's all these guys from that, I don't know what you want to call that era, the early to mid 2000s kind of internet time, where the first kind of real wave of e-celebrities, all those guys are turning out to be massive fucking cucks. Even so many of the early YouTubers. I mean, look at what a pussy Ego Raptor turned out to be. We look at Spoonie.
Holy cow.
Maddox is basically the ghost of Christmas Future for Spoonie. Like one day you'll be suing your more successful former co-workers because they made fun of you on Twitter. NC Clark's joining us. Good to have you on.
I think you're missing the most important part of this.
What's that?
The most important part is Laura Loomer lost her verified status on Twitter.
Oh, man. Well, if you don't stand...
Oy vey, she lost it. They didn't care about Ataya. We need to do something, guys. We need to do a change.org petition.
If you don't stand with Laura Loomer
entire
verified check
nose and verification back. That's what needs to be done.
Dude, every conservative's going to lose it in the next few weeks. Like I said, everybody to the right of Karl Marx, you're going to get banned. Watch him go after like major names like Rush Limbaugh or some shit like that. Like go ahead and do that, Twitter, please. While you're at it, why don't you unverify the Washington Redskins and the Braves and teams like that because they use Indians?
They're going to try, but Rush doesn't even have a Twitter.
I'm sure he has an official. If nothing else, the Rush Limbaugh show, I'm sure, has a Twitter. I don't think he's on it very much.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, pull it. Keep doing all that stuff. Throw all of them off.
Kick us off the air. We'll go back to the radio.
There's a good question in the chat. Is her tire verified?
There was a parody account of her tire. that popped up. I remember when I was still on there. I was following it. I
My
Don't-
tires, somebody slashed my tires, please. And now I'm not verified. They're trying to make conservatism evil. Stop it.
don't talk to Laura
Don't-
or her tire ever again.
No, never. Don't do it.
Oh man.
Oh gosh. Awful person. With her big tits and Ashkenazi IQ. Can't stand her. Conserva thoughts. Be gone.
Yeah, damn you, Laura Loomer, for making me side with Laura Southern.
Every time I see Laura Loomer, I think to myself, why is she trying to dress like Lauren Southern? Why is she trying to look like Lauren Southern? She's not a natural blonde. Well, I don't know if either of them are. She's not a natural blonde. Her nose isn't natural. Her face isn't natural. Just the way she's smiling isn't natural. It's just
Her and that dude are gonna have beautiful Jewish Aryan children. An actual quote from
Ashkenazi
Laura.
IQs. Yeah. Beautiful Jewish children.
She looks like more like Fran Drescher than fucking Laura Southern. Although that's not quite fair to Fran Drescher. Laura Loomer in front of a field of tires. I bet you didn't even have to search hard to find that. That was probably like the second picture that comes up of her.
Yep.
Oh man. I wonder what Laura Loomer's Patreon is. How many tires a month she gets.
Does she have a Patreon?
I'm sure shit, I have a Patreon.
look this
Everybody
shit
has
up.
one.
I don't have.
Hey. I
Let's see.
don't have a Patreon.
You
Yeah.
can probably get
God.
more than me.
She has 11 patrons and 20.
Oh, you want to make a bet? No.
She has a.
I have a
11
low profile, dude. I don't like attention all that much.
Yeah, but you're a woman, so you automatically get some beta bucks.
You brought up my disability. How dare you? How dare you?
She gets
I am trying
$23
not to
a
be a
month.
woman. I am trying.
But no, per video.
Is
No,
it?
that isn't real.
Is creating citizen journalism.
See this shit.
I get more than Laura Loomer.
Oh my
I've had a
God.
Patreon for a month and I'm nobody, and I get more than Laura Loomer.
Is that official?
That
Holy
can't-
shit.
That's priceless.
Oh my God.
Oh man,
How is she gonna buy a tire?
you can't buy you can't even buy one tire for $23.
Tire with it.
You can barely go to the movies for that amount of money.
How did she get a nose job?
I'll be her 23 shekels a month.
Where are the boomers? She needs to go get that boomer money. Wow.
That's sad. Yeah, I got 48. I have both more patrons and money than her.
Wow.
My mighty $48 ain't looking so bad now.
Well, I think your Bulbasaur is probably a little bit more of a dignified picture too.
Yeah, at least the Bulbasaur drawing doesn't have his tits out.
Oh my God. Oh man.
Conserva thoughts. The right-wing equivalent of Findom. But
Hey
Laura's
guys,
only-
I'm conservative. Give me your money. Yeah, they suck. They're horrible people.
I know Southern was kicked off Patreon, but I know she had to have been raking in stupid amounts of money. I'm sure there are plenty of beta orbiters were just throwing shekels at her.
Mhm.
Oh man, that's
And the
hilarious.
Dude, and the thing that always bothers me with that is you can tell them, you can be like, hey, yo, you know you got a bunch of beta orbiters surrounding you and you get money from that, right? You get money off of thirst. And you tell these women that, and they're like, what? I didn't know that. That's not true. I'm a smart girl. They like me because I'm smart and I'm conservative and I'm witty. And you're just sitting there going, you're a dime a dozen. You're a conservathought. Like,
Laura
Oh, man, they're gonna be everywhere.
Southern's pictures of her pet hedgehogs on social media are more interesting than most of her videos.
it is.
It's like, oh, look at that cute little
She's the
hedgehog.
one talking about her pamphlets.
Yeah, well, yeah. It's like, oh, look at that cute hedgehog. She made a little hat for him. Like that's more interesting than her thoughts on politics half the time. And yeah, her 82-page fucking book. I never read it. I bought it and I never read it because I felt too insulted when I opened up the box from Amazon. First of all, the red flag immediately was didn't even come in a box. It was one of those little envelopes, and I didn't even know what it was.
Oh.
I'm like, did I order like buttons for Button Naked or something? What the hell is this? And I open it up and it's like, what? No, Lauren, this is a joke. When's the real book come?
Oh my goodness, that Pikachu thought. Holy moly.
I'm a gamer girl, T.
Look, guys, I'm a gamer girl. Look. Oh my gosh. Just nasty. They're so nasty.
I mean, why?
And then when you call them out, the thing is, it would be one thing if I called them out and they were like, yes, I am a thought. I am taking pictures of myself in sexually provocative ways to get attention. That's completely different. But women don't want to acknowledge the dirt that they do. And so we have situations like this.
I mean,
Just
look.
Awful.
Look, I don't get it with you guys. I get, yeah, you like to look at pretty girls. We all like to look at pretty girls. That's fantastic, okay? So I get why you're following Lauren on the Twitter because, you know, she has her cleavage hanging out and stuff like that, and that's all well and good. We all like that. But I would sooner support a cosplayer on Patreon than Laura Southern because at least a cosplayer like is using her looks in a kind of an artistic way, you know, whereas Laura Southern, it's just pure almost exploitation of you.
Yeah. I
mean, at least with a cosplayer, it's like, well, she put some effort into the costume. Yeah, whoever that girl
what about
is
if Lauren Southern was a cosplayer?
I'm sorry, what?
For
what if Lauren Southern was a cosplayer?
She's cosplaying as a conservative.
Actually, check out what I put in the chat.
Uh-oh.
Let me see that. Oh, yeah, she did cosplay as Samus.
Someone was talking about that in the chat on the YouTube page.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I would sooner support that from Lauren. That's adding more to the world than her average video. It's certainly adding more than her book. And I think
you can't even train a dog with her book. Trying to roll it up.
Her pamphlet.
Bad dog. Yeah, a little pamphlet. Oh man.
82 pages of boomers suck, tee-hee. It's like, yes, they do, but I thought there'd be a little more than this.
Oh, what was I gonna say? About that, I heard you guys talk about the soy boy thing that what's that?
Paul Joseph Watson.
Paul Joseph Watson. Yeah, that guy. It turns out in the ingredients for the nutraceuticals and those vitamins and pills and tinctures and all that shit that InfoWars makes, one of the ingredients just so happens to be soy.
Uh-oh.
I shit you not, it may contain soy or it contains soy. In Brain Force specifically is what I saw.
It says may contain soy?
No, it said contains soy. I will look it up. It was on Twitter. It made me laugh so hard.
Because I know
need some Brain Force.
I know when it says may contain it, it's they have to put that on it if it's like processed on a machine or something that, you know, some like on candy bars you always see may contain peanuts because, you know, it's a Milky Way, but a peanut might have fallen into the batch, you know.
There it
If
is.
you're violently allergic, don't sue us.
There it is.
Contains soy.
Yes, it contains soy.
You know what? I like you, Alex, but I can't defend you on this. I can't.
Oh, I have to admit, no wonder it didn't work or do anything for me.
Here you go. Throw this up since we're talking about Alex Jones there, Luke. I sent it to you on Skype. This is a clip from Alex Jones the anime. I just want to show everybody.
Alex Jones, the anime.
Yeah, it's looking really good. There it is.
Anime is the only form of media that could convey Alex Jones, aside from actual Alex Jones.
He's still more right than he is wrong. Scary as that is.
Turning the freaking frogs gay.
That's what he
was. And it was. That's this.
It was. Yeah, it was. Dude, it was.
We're all making fun of Alex Jones for all these years, and then back in last November, it's like, come on, things can't be that bad. Oh, they all worship Satan. Oh, good old Alex Jones. What was I going to talk about today? Got so distracted with the conservative thoughts. Oh, I was even talking about Maddox, and we ended up talking. Maddox is so boring. We just ended up talking about Laura Southern. But yeah, fuck Maddox, man.
Who is Maddox again? He had some kind of website that was the best on earth or something. I don't.
Yeah, it was. He's a little relic from 2004, is what he is.
Oh, okay. Then yeah. And he's suing for like $1 billion, $1 million.
He is suing this guy for $20 million.
$20 million.
It's
yeah, I'd love to see that.
That guy can make making fun of me the exclusive content of his show for $20 million for the rest of our lives. He can put a billboard right outside my house for $20 million. It says I'm a cuck. And I'm like, I don't care. I got $20 million.
Is he just suing for slander?
Because Maddox is claiming that, I mean, aside from, I guess, like emotional distress, that the reason nobody gives a shit about Maddox is because of this guy making fun of Maddox.
Suing for emotional distress.
Maybe it's not because you ran out of material in early 2006. No, it's because this guy's making fun of you. Let's see. I do want to get to the Roy Moore and Al Franken shit. First, one more kind of lighter story. Some people are losing their shit over this no makeup app. So there's this facial recognition app that's supposed to approximate what this person would look like without makeup. And I gotta say, Tay-Tay's coming out pretty good on that app.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Good old Tay-Tay. Emma not doing so good.
I've seen worse with this app though.
Well, they did the chick from the Young Turds. And,
Anna Kasparian.
Yeah, and
She's
she
better
looks
than you in every way.
She looks terrible in this app.
You're the Young Turds because we're better than you, and we know it.
Oh, Rachel Maddow hasn't changed much.
She looks even more like the best friend from Ferris Bueller, like all grown up.
Who was it? Natalie Portman. Like hers is terrible. She looks very different.
Somebody did one where they took like Bruce or Caitlyn Jenner, and then they just made like the after picture Bruce Jenner.
Well, I'd really like to see somebody do it with Blair White.
Somebody did. Somebody sent that to me earlier, and it didn't go well. I'm pretty sure Blair White's face is like 70% makeup. I'm not sure how much flesh is actually left under there. Oh my God, Natalie Portman looks like Bruce Jenner. Natalie Portman looks like Caitlyn Jenner.
With that was the 3rd search for Bruce Jenner.
Yeah, I mean, wow.
But yeah, the Anna Young Turds there freaked out on Twitter and was like, "Fuck you" to everybody who sent it to me. That's fantastic. Oh man.
Jeez.
But yeah, a bunch of female celebrities and a bunch of cucks are whining about how this is misogynistic, because reasons. And as we all know, every time a bunch of stuck up twats and cucks all get uppity, you're doing something right in the world.
And, here's a picture from a page that says, "For those who saying that app isn't accurate." It's actually the app is a lot more gentle than it could be. Like this is like without makeup, before makeup, and after makeup in real life.
Yeah, I guess because like blemishes and stuff like that, the app, if the makeup's hidden blemishes, the app's not going to know they're there. Yeah. So it's probably inherently going to be more gentle.
Well, Ivanka Trump is really doing well.
Yeah, that's not bad. I think Tay-Tay came out the best in this app.
And here's they tried to do it on the creator of the app. Not much change there.
So let's see, what do we bang out here? I didn't have much to say about this, but it's nonetheless funny. So I had to bring it up. So the big stories of the week, pretty much kind of the same story, but two different, a tale of two cities here. We got Roy Moore and Al Franken. Now, I don't actually like Roy Moore, and I've known about him for years. I don't like the guy personally, and I do suspect there are some skeletons in his closet. That said, though, there is not one actual shred of real evidence about any of these allegations. In fact, as his lawyer pointed out in a press conference, the one thing Roy Moore supposedly wrote looks like bullshit. Like, looks like he didn't write this at all. This woman was claiming they never had contact when, in fact, Roy Moore was the judge over her divorce proceedings. That they never had contact after the initial meeting, which was before this or something. There was a press conference the other day where a lawyer just ripped into this and pointed out that it's all bullshit and demanded to have these documents so that he could have a handwriting expert authenticate what utter bullshit is. There is not a shred of actual real evidence against Roy Moore here. Not one bit of it. And I say that as someone who a few weeks ago would have said, fuck Roy Moore. I don't particularly care for the guy. That said, though, I look at everyone that's outlined against him, and that makes me want to stand with him. Because everyone taking a stand against him is the worst kind of shit lib and the worst kind of roll over and show your belly conservatives. Every one of these conservatives that's ready to throw this guy under the bus based on nothing is either a wolf in sheep's clothing or the most contemptible form of coward.
I don't know. I mean, I don't ever get that impression from Hannity. And even he had a lot of issues with what Roy Moore was saying and inconsistencies with his story versus, like, reality.
I don't know. It doesn't strike me as it. But even Hannity was being fair to the guy.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'll give you that there are people who aren't being fair. But, I mean, to me, I mean, it's... there's not going to be as much evidence because of how long ago it was. But, I mean, in terms of, like, like one of the women who said this, it's confirmed that, she was actually at the place when she said she was there, and he was actually there too. So, I mean, that does add credibility to her story. It doesn't make it true. I'm not saying that, but it does, it does add credibility to the story. It'd be different if, it was like somebody, the fact that these women didn't really want to come out, they didn't really want to talk about this, that does make it a little bit more credible too, in my opinion. And again, the same thing with just some stuff with how Roy Moore has kind of handled this. It doesn't make it, to me, doesn't make him saying his denial as credible as other people. Like, I mean, the allegations against Donald Trump, those are totally bogus, right? They only showed up before the election, totally disappeared afterwards. I mean, they're bogus, but with Roy Moore, I don't know.
But
To me, they
these are
seem a
showing
little
up
bit more credible.
before an election. I'm sorry to interrupt, but these are showing up before an election.
Yeah, I mean, I get that too. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think the Washington Post is definitely using this for political reasons, but that doesn't mean it's not true. I mean, both two things can be true with this. You know, they can be using this for political reasons, and it's also true.
Like I said, it really wouldn't surprise me if they were true. As I said, I don't like this guy. I think that he just oozes crooked preacher to me. I don't like him. I haven't liked him since probably over 10 years ago when I first heard about him, when every corner of the religious right, like D. James Kennedy and stuff, were sucking his dick. I don't like the guy. I really don't. That said, though, particularly in a time of contentious political atmosphere, if you're a conservative, you cannot throw this man under the bus until you've been given real evidence. So all these people are like, he has to step down. He has to stand out of the race. This guy's going to win the race, all right? He is really ahead in the polls, and he could be very, very beneficial to have as a senator. So, yeah, it's one thing to say, okay, there's allegations. They need to be investigated. That's fine. But until you have some something concrete, I say you stand with this guy.
Yeah, but I mean, the question comes with the voters because I mean, you know, none of this stuff's going to come out until after the election. So then, what are voters doing in the meantime? And that's what some of these other people are commenting on. They're saying, not all of them, but I mean, for some of them, like I think that was kind of what Hannity was saying here is, you need Roy Moore, you need to clarify some of these indiscretions, or you need to stand down. You know, it seems like you're guilty here. I mean, and that is a way of kind of now. I mean, again, Hannity eventually kind of said, ultimately, it's up to you guys, the voters. And I mean, some people don't like that. Some people do, but I mean, I do think that there's nothing wrong with saying, does this seem credible? Does this not seem credible? And investigating it. I mean, it is a little bit more difficult. What I think is troubling is the people who say he's probably guilty, but vote for him anyway. That's the thing that is stupid. If you think he's guilty, why, you're saying that you're okay with someone who you think could potentially be a child molester in the Senate. I mean, if you hate Democrats that much, then you really, I mean, there's no point in talking to them anymore. You might as well just start going to war. It's one thing to think that they're not, that the allegations are bogus, and that's a fair point. And I mean, that's totally fine. But if you think that they're valid and you still want to vote for him, that's where I would have an issue.
Well, like I said, I take the stand that I would not be surprised if they were. But at this point, I need to see something concrete before I'm willing to throw them under the bus. And that's just the climate where we're at. Now, speaking of concrete, with Al Franken, we have something entirely concrete. We have a picture. Al Franken at a USO show, I believe in 2006. I don't know why this female soldier, which in and of itself shouldn't be a phrase I have to say.
She isn't a soldier, though.
Yeah.
She's
but this female. Oh, she wasn't. Oh, she was a reporter. Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you.
Reporter.
Thank you. I didn't
and
know
model for Playboy Maxim, and I guess something else. She's a pretty
that
woman.
Explains why he wanted to fake grope her tits and all. But yeah, he's posing for a picture. Now look on. I get that Al Franken's first job was a comedian. I don't know how good he ever was at it, in my opinion, but. Okay, I get that you want to be funny and outrageous, but you are a senator now, and particularly when you're such a fucking moralizing, constantly getting up on your high horse guy. Yeah, to have a picture like this, to be posing for a picture like this, it's pretty fucking ridiculous. And I mean, what's kind of funny about all this is I think, when I think by the end of 2018, Roy Moore is going to be a senator, and Al Franken's not. That's kind of what's funny about all this. See, all these Republicans are in a mass panic because they're believing the media. They're being gaslit by the media. Look, maybe Roy Moore will get run out of town because they'll actually find something concrete. But right now, they don't have anything concrete on him. And right now, the polls are indicating that the voters either don't believe it or don't care. You can interpret that one way or another, but the point is they're supporting him. He's at about a +6 now. The Republicans the conservative movement, the right-wing movement, whatever you want to call it, they're not in bad shape. And they're believing this fucking lie that they are. whereas every liberal institution is absolutely collapsing. The left has taken to turning on each other right now because all this, grab them by the pussy stuff against Donald Trump, none of it worked. Nothing the left is able to do against the right really works, except for maybe suckering some conservatives. So that's part of the reason you're seeing such an insane, turning on each other. I mean, everyone in Hollywood is accusing everyone else of rape.
Well, I mean, they're trying to find a cause to rally behind, I mean, and right now, they were trying to rally behind, black people with the racism stuff for a long time. With all the stuff coming out in Hollywood, now they're wanting to rally around women and sexual assault and that kind of thing and using it any way they can. I mean, that's why Democrats are even willing to throw Bill Clinton under the bus now. I mean, number one, him and Hillary are totally irrelevant at this point, so it doesn't hurt them any. But again, if they can, try to appear moralistic and consistent and that kind of thing, then they'll throw Clinton under the bus to try to prop up, oh, we care about women, we care about, them not being sexually assaulted. Look how bad the Republicans are. They're doing this.
Yeah, there's actually been a few articles by reporters who were, literally using the excuse of I was younger and dumber. That's why I supported Bill Clinton. But I was wrong to support Bill Clinton because, of all this stuff that's come to light. And on one level, I don't know if they're doing it consciously, but it's kind of smart because if the Democrats intend to take the White House in 2020, which I pray to God they don't, but here's some free advice you'll never follow. You need to get rid of Hillary Clinton because assuming that woman is not in prison or dead, and if she's actually put in prison, that will be, such a wonderful accomplishment Trump will have under his belt. He'll take 2020 easy.
Well, I mean, there's kind of a civil war in the Democrats right now. You got the ones that do want to do want to move away from Hillary Clinton, and that's why they're bringing up all the stuff with Bernie Sanders and all the the DNC stuff that happened there. And then you have the other people who are still loyalists to Hillary Clinton. So that's why there's kind of that civil war there.
Hillary Clinton will not win in 2020 if she runs.
I don't think she's going to run.
Can you imagine how hideous that woman's going to look with 4 more years of aging? I mean, there's only so much of draining the life force out of babies that she can do to prolong the inevitable.
I mean, no one really ever comes back from losing a general election like that. That's the thing is nobody wants to vote for a loser. And I mean, and you're right. If DNC dumped Hillary, it would be a lot better for them. I mean, she is the worst candidate ever, and Donald Trump. And
she will be the candidate in 2020. If she's still around, if she still has even the level of sway that she has now in the Democrat Party, which is admittedly waning, she'll be the candidate. And they don't have any young blood to replace her with. The other option they're talking about is Biden. Oh, and by the way, you want to talk about some creepy, gropey pictures. Yeah. Boy, could we whip them out on Biden.
Well, and the reason why Clinton was the candidate this time is because she essentially funded the DNC. She put a whole lot of money in there because Obama bankrupted. Obama was just absolutely bankrupted the DNC. They needed money badly. Hillary Clinton had it. That's why she was the candidate this year instead of Bernie Sanders. She bought the candidacy, essentially.
Yeah, there's Uncle Joe. Boy, please run him.
I mean, truth be told, their best bet would be go with Bernie Sanders if he still wants to run because he'd be running anti-establishment, and people like to vote for people who are anti-establishment.
Bernie Sanders is the only person, the only Democrat I could even name who would have had a shot against Trump.
Yeah, and
I don't think he would.
I don't think he would have won. I don't think he would have won, but I think he would have had the best shot.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Hillary only did as well as she did because of voter fraud.
Well, I think she did as well as she did too.
If things were counted honestly, you could probably throw a couple extra states onto Trump's pile.
I mean, with Bernie, all you need is 2 angry black females, and he's done. To just knock him off the stage.
You know what? You could get those 2 black girls that love Trump on YouTube to just go to every Bernie rally.
Oh yeah, what's her name? Salt and Pepper? No, it's not Salt and Pepper. It's
Diamond and Silk.
Some silly name. Diamond and Silk.
You could just.
Oh gosh. Just bully Bernie right out the stage.
Just go up, push him, or literally push him around. Just shut up, nerd.
Literally push him. Yeah.
But I mean, the amazing thing is, everyone, the way that they're handling this, it's like everyone's shocked that, people in power, either it's, Hollywood power or Washington power, abuse that power and take advantage of their position to, assault women. It's like, what?
But you always have to remember, women always had the power to say no in a lot of instances that we heard of. I mean, a woman getting invited to a hotel room, you kind of know the guy wants to do something. He's bringing you up to a private room, getting you food, all this stuff. What do you think is going to happen, sweetie?
I don't have a lot of sympathy.
I'm tired of women
that want to claim
like, I don't have much sympathy for a lot of them because they're doing it. Not they know what they're getting into. They can't. I don't want to believe that they're stupid.
I mean,
yeah, it's a combination of both. I mean,
the men are taking advantage of them.
Exactly.
So,
I mean, that's in many cases.
I don't know what to say after that.
Yeah, these actresses are like, look, actresses, it's great that you feel bad about being a whore because you should feel bad about that. But, you know, I don't, like, it's not really, I don't think all the moral fault here lies on Uncle Harvey, and I'm not really ready to make a federal case out of it, okay? I'm a little more concerned with Dan Hold Her Foot Tighter, She's a Fighter Snyder over at Nickelodeon than I am Uncle Harvey, all right? Like, yeah, I'm sure it was pretty terrible when you had to suck his short, greasy pecker, you know, to be a star, baby. But hey, he made you a star. I mean, he kept up his end of the bargain. What are you bitching about? You made your choice, live with it.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's the abuse of power. It just doesn't, and I mean, or people doing things to get power, to get influence. It's, you know, tale as old as time.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's right by any stretch. I'm just saying, like, you're not really a victim there. You're a victim of nothing but your own choices. You know, when old Harvey Schickelstein invites you up to his hotel room, well, you got a handful of choices there, sweetie. Number one, you could say, you know what, this is disgusting. I'm leaving. I'm not doing this. I'm going to go get a real job and marry somebody and have a life. Or you can go up there and you can suck his dick and be rich and famous and always be haunted by the fact that you sucked his greasy, short little pecker. I mean, those are your choices.
Both. They want, but they want both.
You want, exactly. You want both.
And respect, but they want to be that whore. And you got to sit there and think, sweetie, but you're not in charge of your reputation. Other people define your reputation. And if society deems it that you are a slut for doing these kinds of actions, then that's what you are. You can't tell me you're not.
You know, this
because you did that action.
A while back when they were filming, I think Avengers 2, there was all kinds of problems caused because Scarlett Johansson was pregnant. And this caused all kinds of problems with the filming of the movie. And I made the point, and I think they used to do this in Hollywood, that if an actress signs on for a long-running TV show or a long-running movie series, something where, you know, you need her to be there for years, it should be against her contract to get pregnant. There should be some sort of financial, I don't know, penalty or something. For the same reason, you know, Chris Evans can't show up to Captain America 4 with a beer gut. You know, it's no longer your body anymore. You've signed on to do something. And I got a lot of backlash against that. And they're like, oh, you know, women, she just wanted to have a baby. What was wrong with her? I'm like, look, in life, you got to make certain choices. All right. And sometimes when you choose one thing, it means you can't have another. And hey, you're a big famous actress and you're in this big movie series that people are going to enjoy for years. That's pretty cool. But maybe it means you don't get to have a baby right now. That's something we've completely lost in society where, hey, look, you make choices and you got to just fucking live with them. Right? Now, I don't think it's by any means right for you to go suck somebody's dick for him to make you a star, baby. All right? I think that's wrong. But you know what? You sucked his dick. He made you a star. You made your choice. Live with it. And if you have regret, if you have if you're feeling all guilty about it, well, that's good. You should feel guilty about it. You know what? Why don't you take that guilt to the cross? All right, because I can't do anything for you, sweetie. You made your choice. You got to live with it.
Oh, this picture I found is Avengers movie makers using multiple Scarlett Johansson body doubles to hide actress's pregnancy as two lookalikes are spot on set.
I mean, think about that. This one, and it's not like she got accidentally pregnant. She chose to get pregnant at that time, at a time which derails a huge multi-million-dollar project in which many people's livelihoods are at stake. And you're going to tell me that's not incredibly selfish?
You think if you work for Hooters, you can just get pregnant? Technically, within their contract, they're models. That's how they get around it. A lot of these companies, you know, those companies with the the guys who have to be ripped and they can't wear a shirt, they wear the scarves. Can't remember the name of the store, Aeropostale or some crap like that.
There's an element of that too.
It's in the mall.
You know, there's
and they are considered models in their contract. Therefore, they have to look a certain way, and they have to present themselves in a certain way when they go to work.
Yeah, there's tons of TV shows over the years that have had themselves derailed because an actress got pregnant and stuff. I would definitely think it's, and again, I'm sure if a studio tried to put that in there, they'd be accused of sexism. When again, it's the same thing. I mean, you know, Chris Evans can't show up to Captain America 4, you know, a big fat ass. It's not going to fly. You know, you're being very, very well compensated. You signed on to do X amount of movies, so do your fucking job. Again, you make choices in life. You live with them. Sometimes when you choose one thing, it means you can't have another. This bullshit, you can have it all. No, you can't. And likewise, you can't suck Harvey Weinstein's dick to become a star and still have some self-respect. It ain't going to work.
But you have to listen to them. They're hurt. They're really, you know.
I'm sure they are. I'm sure it bothers them. It's supposed to bother them. You weren't supposed to do that. You know? But again, you want to talk about victims. I want to talk about all I want to talk about all the kids that had to let Dan Snyder suck their toes from the Nickelodeon studios. Okay? That's who I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you were a grown-ass woman when you made that decision. That girl was 10.
I just don't know what the left wants to come out of this. Like, how are they going to... Because when you think about it, it's not going to look good on them in any way. They're accusing each other of rape. They're accusing high-level people that they respect of rape and sexual misconduct and all these things. Like, no one... How do they think that this in any way is going to go well? Or maybe they're just getting us used to the idea of most men being sexual predators.
I think part of it's that.
That's the way they're framing it.
Part of it's just that they create it. In many ways, the left created this monster of third-wave feminism. And now I think, you know, you're just seeing that poetic scene where the monster strangles Dr. Frankenstein or something. You know, it's just gotten away from them, I think. Combined with the absolute shitty behavior that they have. It's just gotten away from them, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with NC Clark a little bit. I think in one sense this could be used to try to be painting, you know, especially white men as just sexual predators, and this is going to be used as evidence to back up those claims. You know, well, we do live in a rape culture. Look at all this stuff. And the other possibility too is because so many of these people are leftists. Is, you know, when a problem gets so big, people eventually get apathetic to it. You know, that's why people don't care about the environment, is because it's just too big of a problem for us to handle. And so they're going to try to make it look as big as possible so people don't care.
I mean, racism, the term racism doesn't work anymore. The term sexist doesn't work anymore. The term misogynistic doesn't work anymore. Now, are we going to see a day when the term even pedophile doesn't work anymore? Even when someone is actually a pedophile. I think they're trying to get us used to these ideas, try to accuse people of horrible things, of everyone of horrible things, especially white straight males, because I haven't heard a lot of people talk about men being molested by other men in Hollywood, which we know happens all the time.
Well, there's a little bit. I mean, we've heard some of it with Terry Crews coming out.
Corey Feldman.
Yeah, the Corey Feldman stuff. I mean, you know, we come to find out
not as big of a deal.
Well,
and the George Takei stuff too.
I think they are definitely trying to keep that aspect out of under wraps because they want this to fit into a narrative. But again, I just see it as something that's going to get out of hand on them. They might want to be trying to do a kind of controlled burn here. But the problem with controlled burns is they can very, very easily get out of hand. And I think that's going to happen to them. I mean, you know, Charlie Sheen's already being investigated by the LAPD about these allegations that, you know, he butt raped one of the Coreys. I I could see certain powerful elements thinking that they're really smart here and they're going to play everybody for fools, but I think this has already gotten further out of hand than they anticipated. I don't think when they were letting this control burn happen that they thought, for example, George Takei was going to be on the chopping block, for grabbing by the dick. I don't think they thought that was going to happen. There's a lot of this, and part of it's just, I used to watch zombie movies and wonder what keeps the zombies from eating each other, and ultimately nothing is the real world answer.
Mm-hmm.
I think part of this is that the left has felt pretty impotent these last few years. Aside from maybe being able to gaslight a few gullible rubes with the media, with the fake news, they haven't really been able to do much here this last couple of years. They've lost quite a few battles. And I wonder if maybe they're just kind of turning on each other. Maybe it's, maybe if you keep the zombies away from normal people long enough, they'll try and eat each other.
Well, I mean, I think the Roy Moore stuff was an attempt at a cultural war. I think they were trying to I think in some ways they were trying to get conservatives to support Roy Moore, even if the evidence was damning, to basically try to get them to be like, you guys don't care about, your ethics or this kind of stuff because you're going to support this guy who's a child molester. And
I don't think that's worked either, because look, I mean, there's way too many guys that are just shamefully trying to throw Roy Moore under the bus, like guys like Mitch McConnell, just because they don't want more and more there. But I think most people have been like Hannity and been like, look, there's some concerns here. I think we need to look into it, but I'm not prepared. I'm not prepared to throw this man under the bus for not a whole hell of a lot to go off of here.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely people, on the right who are so concerned that we're going to end up like the left that they kind of overreact in some ways, and like they just, they want to swing the pendulum to the complete other side because they're just like, you see the right adopt a couple of the tactics of the left, and they think, no, we're going to become just like them. I mean, I think Ben Shapiro kind of acts that way sometimes. I think he's really terrified that the right is doing that, and so I think he's kind of misinterpreting some of the events here.
Like I said, I don't even like Roy Moore, and it wouldn't surprise me at all, but especially given all the, the quality of the men allied against him, I'm going to need to see something solid here, and I don't see it yet. And until I do,
with no evidence can be dismissed without evidence.
Yeah, and until I do, I say, the voters of Alabama, they seem to either not believe it or not be concerned with it, and that's kind of at this point their prerogative.
I'm kind of curious to know what Ben Shapiro has said about it. I haven't listened to him in a while. That whole incident with what's that reporter who said she was touched by Donald Trump? She was assaulted by Donald Trump. That really rubbed me the wrong way.
Well,
awful. And I know why he defended her, because you think, hey, in your mind, it's like, oh, it's a friend. I have to go to bat for my friend, and whatever my friend says is going to be the truth. But I think we all know, even if it's your friend and they don't provide any evidence to what they're saying, you have to call them out on it. You have to.
I don't know. He hasn't mentioned that.
He couldn't do it. Oh yes, it was Michelle Fields. Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, I think this, everyone's be raping everybody in here, hysteria. I really think that at the end of the day, this is going to hurt a lot more left-wing people than right-wing people, because ultimately, usually left-wing people are doing shittier things. Even if you take out like sexual assault and rape, usually they're in more compromising positions. Okay. They're the ones who are doing lines of coke off each other's naked bodies a lot more than the right wing. So they're the ones that are going to find themselves in a position where these allegations, even if not true, are going to be considered more credible.
I want to know, how are they going to be hurt by it, though?
I don't know.
Takei, for example, how is he going to be hurt by this? I really don't think. Kevin Spacey, how is he going to be hurt by this? The media already spun it to say, oh, he's gay, so we don't have to talk about it anymore.
Yeah, and about that, though, Kevin Spacey says he chooses to live as a gay man. He chooses? Since when do you choose to be a gay man? I say you choose to be a gay man. I'm a bigot. Spacey says it. He can get away with rape.
I don't know. I really think that it's more the media is just hurting its own credibility here. Things are just, I mean, things were so pitifully transparent with Kevin Spacey. You saw gay advocacy groups calling him out on the fact that he was blatantly hiding behind the gay card. With George Takei, I mean, he made an ass out of himself trying to say that it was the Russian bots that are.
Yeah, but how is he going to be? Is it going to hurt his pocketbook? What is it going to hurt?
I don't think it's going to hurt his pocketbook. It's just adding to the overall, like, a lot of normies.
But if we already knew that, if we already knew they were sexually deviant,
a lot of normies
they
are
now
going to
just
start
admit
turning
it.
these guys out more.
They're not. I don't have that much faith in normies, man. I really don't.
I wouldn't have either until I saw the NFL thing. A couple years ago, I always thought the NFL was bulletproof. I thought that they could sacrifice babies for fucking halftime shows, and everybody'd be like, "Yeah, but more football." And then you saw the NFL fucking ratings drop like a stone, and I was surprised. I mean, because in my opinion, liking the NFL is a bit cucky right from the get go. Okay. It's a bunch of out of shape, middle aged white dudes living vicariously through a bunch of black guys that would hate them if they knew them. It's always been a bit cucky, in my humble opinion. But damned if a lot of NFL fans didn't manage to muster up some fucking self respect here these last couple of years. It just reaches a point where it's people are sick of it. Hollywood's dying. The entertainment industry is dying. And you can point to, it's technology and people pirate it, and that's all excuses. They're dying because they've become a bunch of left-wing shitbags, hyper left-wing shitbags that can't do their basic job of entertaining anymore.
Well, I mean, when everything becomes politicized, you can't enjoy it anymore because you're sitting there wondering what am I being preached at? I mean, like, you see somebody and it's like, oh, this is a female actor, and you're like, great. Now I'm going to have to read about 50 articles about how this is a great step forward for women. Like Wonder Woman. It's a fairly enjoyable movie, and you got to read all these different articles about it. And it's just on and on and on. When you politicize everything, you can't enjoy anything.
I mean, hell, I'm a huge Marvel fan. And I have no interest in seeing Black Panther just because I'm already sick of all the We Was Kangs guys stacking like it's a fucking documentary. And I love the Avengers. I love Marvel Comics. I have since I was a kid. And I should be like, oh, a Black Panther movie. I'm surprised they're making that. That's a cool choice. I want to go see that. And now I'm like, fuck this movie. Do you really think those movies are for you, or are they for the general audiences?
They're to push a narrative. They're to be there so that way when someone watches it and they're not thinking about it, that narrative gets into place. That's what they're there for.
Black Panther's not going to do well.
Like the whole narrative of gay people are mistreated. They're so abused all of the time. The reason why that narrative is so prevalent is because in every single film that came out in the past 10 years, there's always some gay person who's the nicest person imaginable, and they get the crap kicked out of them by the evil Christian person.
Well, again, like I said, Black Panther is not going to do well. I'm calling that right now. It'll make money, because Avengers is the biggest brand in the damn world right now. But it will be lucky to do Ant-Man money. And a big part of that is going to be the constant fucking articles about how this is how Africa would have been except for Whitey. We was Kangs. All right? That's going to, aside from the another big part of it is Black Panther's always been a B or C list character anyways. Nobody gives a shit about him. But yeah, that's going to be a big reason for it. And as for the gay thing, I mean, you already see that, like, when you make something that constant and just beat people over the head with it, people just start to question it. And mark my words that Gen Z is going to be one of the most anti-gay generations we've seen in the better part of a century. People are going to be shocked at what's coming out of that.
Good example of what you guys are talking about with the gays in Hollywood and everything, that whole mafia. There was a study done, and it showed that people, especially our generation who watch the media, who see that on every single television show, there's a gay couple or there's a gay guy or a gay girl. There's gays everywhere in the media. People didn't understand. They thought that the population of homosexuals, of the LGBTQ community, was larger than the Black community. I think they said it was like around 20%.
Oh yeah,
They have no idea how small it is. Yeah, it's really, really, really tiny.
Even with all those frog chemicals in the water, I can't imagine it's more than a tops 5%. And I mean, that's a ridiculously high estimate. That's with it being so fashionable for everybody to be a trans, poly, otherkin bullshit. I would say maybe it's at 5%. All of it together. The whole LGBTQ element of the thing.
Even in California, it's only 4%.
Exactly. It's a very small percentage of the population. And they thought because the media keeps shoving it in their face that they're here, they're queer, look at them.
Although in Washington, D.C., it's 10%.
No, it's shocking.
They're concentrated in specific areas.
50% in Washington, D.C. I'd like to see what the percentage is at Vatican City.
Well, I mean, it's a similar thing of, why people are so ready to believe that, black people have it so bad is because on a lot of those TV shows, you see the black person getting treated bad. You see a white person being a jerk just for the sake of being a jerk or because he's racist or something. Doesn't mean that that's actual reality. More people are basing their perception off of what they've seen on TV, not on what's actually happening in reality. That's why these people have to go out and they have to make hate crime hoaxes. They have to make their own hate crime is because they know it's true because they've watched it on TV, even though in reality that's not the case. Even back in history, there were racist jerks in history, but it's not like every single white person you met was like, yeah, let's the white black people aren't even worth anything. That's not how it was. I mean, maybe if you go way, way back, but not every single white person was like that.
I like the Bill Burr
some.
bit.
They bought and trade them. So
there was a Bill Burr bit.
Oh, there was absolutely some. I'm not saying that it was right. I'm saying we've definitely gotten better, but I mean, gosh,
there was a Bill Burr bit where he was talking about being sick of those white guilt movies, right? And he goes, "I'm so sick of being told I have to apologize. Look, ain't no white people around right now that have to apologize. I mean, maybe if you're like over 70 and you live in the deep South, you might have some apology cards you need to mail out. But other than that." And look, I think it's just a case of just overplaying their message, overplaying their hand, I should say. I don't think it's really working that well for them anymore. Yeah, a couple years ago, I'd have completely agreed with you. But now, they've overplayed their hands so much across the board. I mean, nobody cares if you're called racist anymore. Nobody cares.
Exactly.
I mean, I remember probably close to a year ago, I had somebody email me and threaten that they had found out where I worked at the time, and they were like, they're going to call my boss. And I'm like, please do. So him and I can have a good laugh. I can't wait for him to. Like, nobody cares. I remember when the Richard Spencer Nazi salute thing happened, right? And I heard a couple of normies at my job at the time talking in the break room about it. Did you hear there were some Nazis in D.C. and they had some rally and they're trying to make it sound like Trump was involved? Trump had nothing to do with it, man. They're so full of shit. And these aren't people that listen to, eclectic far-right podcasts on the internet, These are people that just want to, go to work and have their fantasy football league and live their life. And they're not buying it anymore.
No, yeah.
At my last job, I wasn't allowed to.
It's just amazing seeing how insidious this stuff was, even in older stuff. Like, my wife and I've been watching some older shows, just like some of the shows from the 90s, and even back then, I can start seeing. I'm like, man, look at the message here. Like, if you look at Home Improvement, there's just so much really hateful and hurtful stuff towards men in that show. It's amazing.
Well, I mean, I'm a perfect example. A few years ago, I'd have considered myself kind of in line with some of the gay rights things, just from a small government, leave people alone to do what they want position. If you'd asked me 5 years ago, oh, what about gay marriage? I'd be like, fine, let them have it. I don't care. It's a piece of paper from the government. I don't care. Can we audit the Fed? But that hand has been so overplayed anymore. I mean, I'm somebody who's gone further right. I'm somebody who's like, holy shit, I guess society used to repress these people for a reason. Like, I've gone way further right. Because, yeah, I used to buy into the narrative that, oh, they were just people who wanted to live their lives and are being picked on and all that stuff. And look, even as a Christian, you know, I didn't think it was right. But if I'm told here's this group of people that just want to live their lives in peace and nobody's letting them, I'm going to be able to respect that, even if I don't like how they're living their life. Because, you know, my first and foremost political motivation is always get off my lawn. So I can respect somebody who I perceive. I can respect somebody else if I perceive that that's their motivation. But the problem is, after a while, it became apparent to me that no, that's not their motivation. It's not about the government out of my bedroom. Because, yeah, I don't want the government in your bedroom either. But I don't want your bedroom parading down fucking Main Street.
Well, and I mean, you know, and you will be forced to celebrate that. That's the other thing. It's not this, you know, okay, you know, these two men want to go and, you know, have sex and just be left alone, but without, you know, fear of the government. It's no, these two men want to go and have sex, and they want the government to force you and applaud them doing that and say, this is wonderful, this is great, this is just as good and normal as when a man has sex with his wife.
Yeah, in theory,
not only you, your children.
And your children.
That says that, you know, they inherit each other's stuff and they have the legal protection of their marriage. I don't care, in theory.
But they could have already done that.
Is that I have to bake you a dildo cake or I'm going to be ruined. You know, the problem is I have to throw you a fucking parade now or I'm going to be destroyed. That's not... Live and let live has to be a two-way street. I was fine in theory with live and let live. All right? But it didn't pan out that way. Because you got what you wanted, and you still want to destroy me.
Well, and I mean, of course, it's progressed now even further to where, you know, we want to say that, well, you know, sex doesn't matter in terms of marriage. And now we've just gotten to the point where we say, well, sex doesn't matter at all. If you're a man and you want to call yourself a female, that's fine. And now everybody else has to acknowledge that you're a female as well. You know, they can't speak truth to that anymore. You know, even if you don't want to call yourself a third gender, like California has now put in a third gender there. So, you know, get rid of just the, you know, binary nature of our sex. It's you know, insanity.
I identify as a Bulbasaur. So
well, I mean, right, absolutely, and everybody should acknowledge that.
I mean, I started that as a joke. You know, I was like, if Sean King gets to be white and Bruce Jenner gets to be a woman, then I get to be a Bulbasaur. But you know what? In like 5 years, I'm going to have to abandon that joke because there are going to be people running around actually trying to legally get their status changed to a Bulbasaur. And yeah, I agree with you on the perception thing because that was the perception I had of them for a while. But after a while, the reality becomes, you know, unavoidable. After a while, you know, the illusion gets shattered. Illusions just get shattered. You know, they just do. You know, and people will try to cling to it. People will try to ignore it, but it's getting harder and harder to do. And I really don't think that. Look, they're actively pushing for the pedo shit. They're actively pushing that. You know, they want you to hand over your. They want you to sacrifice your kids on the altar of Moloch here, or you're a bigot. And I don't. That's not going to fly. I really don't think that's going to fly. That's too deep against people's instincts. I don't see that working.
Well, I mean, you know, for some of them, the eventual point is to get rid of the family altogether and just have all the kids raised as part of the state, wards of the state.
Well, at this point, I'm pretty convinced that the actual point of leftism is just it's not a philosophy. It's just a march directly into Cthulhu's Maw. Okay. The end goal of leftism is to see the last human skull bashed up against a rock for being more privileged than the rock. That's the end goal of leftism.
For some, for others, it's tearing down civilization because they believe that the way that civilization was built was inherently bigoted, racist, all of these other things. So you have to tear it down completely to remake it in your own equality image. And so they're actively tearing down. Others, they honestly believe that what they're doing is going to lead towards greater equality and that kind of thing. I mean, that's the problem, is that they're not monolithic in their motivation. They're just monolithic in their goals.
I mean, the only way you can predict what leftists are going to do on any given issue is just look at it and say, well, what's most destructive? All right, that's what they're going to do. I mean, think about it. Gays are the patron saints of fucking leftism, right? And then what did we see last October?
Not anymore.
What did we see last October? We saw some goat fucker went crazy and decided to shoot up a gay nightclub, and they sided with the goat fucker. Because again, well, what's more destructive? Yeah, these guys are trying to destroy the family and they're spreading disease, but holy shit, this guy wants to blow everybody up. I guess he's our new hero.
Well, you know, it amazes me, just speaking about shootings too, how quickly everyone's moved on from the shooting in Texas. No one talks about that anymore. Absolutely. I mean, of course, again, the reason why is because it was a story that was absolutely worthless to the media. They could get nothing from it, right? It was, you know, it was a worst case scenario. You have Christians getting shot, you have white Christians getting shot, you know, and then the bad man stopped by a gun. This couldn't be worse. And so you just don't hear about it anymore.
Yeah. And
you know,
again,
so those victims, I mean, you know, now we're too busy talking about all the sexual assault stuff, everything like that, you know. So, I mean, they got what, like 3 days, the victims, you know, of mourning, and that's about it.
Well, even I didn't, and you know, on streams and all, I didn't even spend much time talking about it because I'm so tired of talking about the gun issue because I've just reached this point where I'm like, you know, I'm tired of trying to argue with gun grabbers because first of all, my response at this point is just no. Now, why don't you just do something about it? Okay. Like, just come and take them. I've made my peace with God. Let's dance. I'm tired of arguing with you about it. No, you don't get to go crazy and shoot at me and then demand that I disarm. It's not going to fucking happen. And every politician that wants to take away my guns wants to do that because he wishes to do things to me for which he should be rightfully shot.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was the dumbest thing about it is the fact that, you know, if the government had done its job, this individual wouldn't have been able to get a gun in the first place. So you want to give more power to the institution that screwed up in the first place that led to this, or not led to this, but contributed to this?
Think about that. These liberals are running around thinking that they got, you know, what is it? They're Cheeto Nazi in the fucking White House and they want to make sure he's the only one that has guns. They think they have the most evil man to ever live is in the White House and they want him to disarm them.
But like you said, I guess if that's what's most destructive, that's what they're going to go for.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I was happy when they were like, oh, man, I'm going to start buying guns because Donald Trump's president. I was like, fine, good. Buy a gun. Exercise your Second Amendment right. Good for you. Maybe you'll stop trying to take mine.
Yeah, maybe if you actually fire a gun, it'll boost the T in your system a little bit and you'll be less of a faggot.
Or, you know, you can get PTSD like that one dude from firing an AR-15, which is one of the smoothest guns you can shoot. I mean, the thing barely has any kick.
I remember that. I remember he's all like, I fired a P.
I mean, golly, you know, I could maybe understand if you had shot a Magnum. Not really, not PTSD, obviously, but like I can understand you being a little bit like shook if you fired a Magnum for the first time, or if you've shot, I think, a 12 gauge. But I mean, come on, AR-15, I think is smooth as butter.
Luke, I sent you a little thing. There's a shocking new modification they have for the AR-15. I want you to throw it up there. It's on Skype. If
it's Hillary 2020, I'm gonna faint. Yeah. I'll have PTSD.
Dude, that was hilarious. Dude, the chainsaw bayonet. Like, there it is. There's the new modification for the AR-15.
I love that modification animation they had going on. The chainsaw. It's like, what are we playing? Gears of War here?
Which, by the way, where can I get a chainsaw bayonet? I'm asking for a friend. Because that sounds awesome.
I don't think they sell that at Cabela's.
They should. Because at this point, it would sell like mad. After that USA Today article, you wouldn't be able to keep them in stock. What's the biggest reason to own an AR-15 at this point? It makes a liberal cry.
It's just a nice rifle too, though. It really is. I mean, it is a nice rifle.
I must admit, I never owned a gun until Obama was in office. There's just something about being told I can't have one.
Well, see, one of the nice things with AR-15 though is with the type of caliber bullets that you usually buy, like if you're using it for home defense, if you shoot through somebody, it's probably not going to go through that individual. Like it doesn't really go through, the bullets don't really go through walls or door, as much as like other guns would. So you really don't have to worry about like shooting into your neighbors or anything like that. That's why it's a good gun for home, or rifle for home defense. And again, it's very smooth. It's able to maneuver around doors and that kind of stuff. I mean, it's just a nice rifle. It's well made. For most of the people, like I have the one that was manufactured in Palmetto, but I mean, it's nice. And it's you can modify it too, which is also nice.
Before I forget, I'm gonna go ahead and do the sponsors. Down below, you'll see there's the Patreon and the PayPal. If you like what I do, if you like this show, instead of sending $11 to Laura Loomer, you could send me a few shekels. You could either become a patron once a month, or if you don't want to do the once a month thing, you just want to send a one-time thing, there's the PayPal too, where you can send some shekels. So that's greatly appreciated. And also, we got the sponsor this week. I'll go ahead and read the ad here. Christmas is not just around the corner, but it might as well be, because you're going to procrastinate until the 11th hour and wander into Walmart hoping it's open late Christmas Eve. Worse, some of you will do your holiday shopping on Black Friday because you hate yourself and you want to be an easy target for terrorists. But if you're smart and want to make your Christmas shopping easy, do it now and buy one of Aaron Clary's books. Clary's books are the gift that everybody wants, or nobody wants, but everybody needs, I should say. But be it Bachelor Pad Economics, Worthless, Reconnaissance Man, Cursed IQ, Black Man's Guide Out of Poverty, Poor Richard's Retirement, Clary's books make great gifts for all the men in your life. All men and even women need to know the knowledge, wisdom, and advice in the books. And the younger you know it, the better. So give the gift that can save lives. Aaron Clary's books, available in paperback, Kindle, and audiobook, all conveniently located on Amazon.com. And while you're at it, why not consider hiring Captain Capitalism for a private consult? And make sure you're not fucking up. Visit him at assholeconsulting.com. All right, so sponsor, there we go. Also, if you haven't, somebody says that face one gave Bechtloff $14.88, and he still hasn't done a drunk stream where he admits his love for mystery meat and Mary Jane. No, I'm not going to do that. But I have gotten more than a few people who have sent me $14.88 on PayPal before. Let's see. What else did if you haven't already, check out the VidMe channel. There's more stuff coming here shortly. I'm going to record some more audio tonight. I got a couple of videos, a couple of things on Mario, for example. A video on Bubsy, and I have an interesting video coming up here shortly. I'm hoping it'll be ready by Black Friday on Christmas shopping for geeks, for all the geeks in your life, because geeky people are often notoriously hard to shop for. So yeah, check out the VidMe channel if you haven't already. And let's see what else we got here. I'm pretty much done with my top. Oh, Alt Hero. That's what else I wanted to talk about. I didn't check that one off yet. So I talked about this a little before. Fox Day is doing this Alt Hero thing where he's trying to compete with Marvel and DC because, both of them, especially Marvel, has gotten really, really cucked lately. And, Vox sees an opportunity and wants to take it. But the whole thing strikes me as a little too opportunistic, if I'm being honest. Because, for one thing, now, obviously there are other people involved, artists and writers, I believe. But Vox doesn't know shit about the superhero genre. He really doesn't. He doesn't like it, which, I mean, that's fine. You're allowed to be wrong. But as I said, the eternal Gen Xer, being the arrogant fuck that he is, he doesn't really... He doesn't know how much he doesn't know, if that makes sense. He talked about on his blog here recently about how he's been checking out the competition. And he's watching a bunch of superhero shows, because heaven forbid you actually read superhero comics first. And and he said like he likes the Gifted more than Arrow and Flash, for example. And he couldn't get into Supergirl at all because it was too SJW, and I don't blame him. That show's awful. But when he mentioned liking the Gifted more than Arrow and Flash, and he's going into reasons why, basically he likes it more because it's the least superhero-y of the superhero shows. And that kind of threw up a red flag right there. Also, the name Alt Hero, I think, is a mistake. It's just, it doesn't strike me as something. I mean, why name it that? Why define it specifically as being A, tied to the alt-right, and then B, being against something? Why not try and forge your own identity? And it looks like there's some interesting ideas in it. Some of the artwork I saw for Alt Hero looked good. You know, the chick with the Confederate flag motif looks kind of interesting. I mean, there's potential here, but I don't really see it going anywhere. And the more I'm seeing from Vox Day, the more I really think this is going to be a colossal train wreck. Now, I mean, it might be successful despite Vox Day. Let me put it that way. If he's got decent writers here, he's got decent artists. You know, there's a lot of fans of the superhero genre that are starved for non-cucked superhero material. You know, the money's on the table. He just has to be smart enough to take it, and I don't know that he is. Because again, I think he's just too arrogant about it. You know, he doesn't know what he doesn't know. Another thing he said here recently, he mentioned Brian Michael Bendis recently announced he's going exclusively to DC. Now, if you're not a big comic fan, then that doesn't mean as much as it means to a big comic book fan, because Brian Bendis has been one of the major creative forces at Marvel since basically 2000, and pretty much just Marvel. I think he's written like one guest issue of Batman since then or some shit like that, but pretty much exclusively Marvel. And some creator-owned stuff he'd done, like Powers, for example. But I mean, he was one of the major architects of the Ultimate line back when that meant something. He was the original writer for Ultimate Spider-Man. He was the guy that put the Avengers back into the center of the Marvel Universe, starting with New Avengers back in 2004. He's done a lot of really good things for Marvel over the years. Now, in the last couple of years, he's gotten kind of cucked. And he's gotten kind of cucked because that's just what Marvel has been recently. I think a lot of it is probably pressure from higher-ups to do some of this shit. But Vox Day said the Brian Bendis cancer has metastasized to DC. Now, look, I'm not happy with Bendis of the last couple years. I'll give you that, since I want to say 2013, 2014, something like that. But there's no denying that of the 17 straight years that Bendis has been a major force at Marvel, the vast majority of it has been commercial and critical success. But Vox Day doesn't even seem to know that. I swear Vox Day doesn't know shit about this industry before probably 2015, 2016, when he started paying attention to its collapse under the SJW bullshit. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that. It's something you don't know. It's something you don't know. The biggest problem, the biggest red flag is, as I said, Vox Day doesn't seem to know what he doesn't know. In other words, he doesn't seem to know that he doesn't know. He thinks that he's got this shit all figured out. For example, a couple months ago, you know, he was shitting on Jack Kirby, of all things. Oh, Jack Kirby's terrible, completely overrated. Now, don't get me wrong. Jack Kirby had his faults. He was never particularly good at drawing women, for example. He was never good at it. But there's a certain amount of respect for anybody that's familiar with and likes the superhero genre for the absolute trailblazing that Jack Kirby did. There's an artist technique called Kirby dots, which is where, like, let's say you draw him the Silver Surfer and his hands glowing with his cosmic energy. There's a way a lot of artists will depict that where they'll draw sort of little black dots around the edge of this kind of energy field coming out of his hand. And it's just something that's generally used to convey a kind of exotic or cosmic kind of energy. He pioneered that. He created that art technique. And that was an artist technique that many artists would copy for decades. Now, these days, with coloring being a bit more sophisticated and often computer handled, a lot of times the penciler won't even do anything on those sorts of effects and just leave it purely up to the colorer. So in some levels, think of it like a really clever special effects technique that just eventually became technologically irrelevant in movies. Think of it like that. But the point is, it was trailblazing, and it was something that would be copied for decades. And that's just one small example of what an absolute pioneer Jack Kirby was in the field of superhero comics. But Vox Day knows better, because he just started learning about it 6 months ago. That kind of arrogance is what's going to shoot this shit in the ass. All right? That kind of arrogance is going to be the absolute downfall of alt hero, specifically when, every force of media is going to be aligned against it. You're not going to have anybody on any site, on any comic book store or something. Comic book stores might be afraid to carry it for fear that some SJW is going to break their window or something. You never know with this kind of stuff. You right from the get-go, you have an uphill battle. The infrastructure of the industry is inherently against you. So you got to be a little smarter than this. You can't have the eternal Gen Xer mindset. It's not going to work. And I say this as somebody who, again, there's some stuff I'm seeing in this alt hero stuff that I don't know anything about this Confederate flag character, but it's a hot redhead dressed in a Confederate flag motif. I'm curious. I want to check that out. If I saw an issue with that chick on the cover right there, I think Rebel is her name. If I saw Rebel #1 sitting on the stands at a comic book store, I'd pick it up. That looks interesting. Maybe it's not, but I don't know. It's worth a shot. There's some of the art I've seen come out of it looks good. And again, people are starved for non-cuck superhero stuff right now. I'd love to see alt hero thrive. I'd love to see it, if nothing else, just it being somewhat successful. Marvel and DC could use a little competition right now. I don't think it will be. And I don't say that as somebody who wants to see it fail. I say that as somebody who think it will fail. And like I said, if it's going to, trust me, I'd much rather have Rebel, I'd much rather want to read the Confederate girl than fucking Darker Miss Marvel over here. All right, trust me. Get those two sitting on the stand there, and I can tell you which one I want to read. But I don't think it's going to do well. Like I said, I haven't heard anybody else use this phrase, so I'm quoting it now. The eternal Gen Xer. Much like the eternal boomer, we have the eternal Gen Xer. And I don't think it's going anywhere. If it succeeds, and again, I would love to see it succeed. If it succeeds, it will succeed despite Vox Day, not because of him.
What would be a good villain for the Rebel?
Sean White. No, Sean King. I'm sorry. Sean King is his name. Sean White, because he's secretly white. But Sean King. I had a little Freudian slip.
But I mean, like a hero's only as good as the villain, right? So I mean, if the girl would need a good antagonist.
I don't know, but I mean, you see on one level, and I mentioned this on a previous stream. It's hard to make these fucking Marxists really good villains because they are so utterly pathetic. Part of the reason you still see Nazis used as villains, to this day, and communists are never used as villains. Now, part of it is obviously the left-wing bias in the media. I'm not disputing that. But part of it is communists don't make good villains. Because communism is kind of pathetic. You know, even if you take the most cartoonish version of Nazis, at least they're aspiring to some form of greatness.
I mean, you could do a form of communism that is pretty menacing, like in the short story Harrison Bergeron. That's kind of communistic in a sense with the equality, and it's pretty menacing. They're pretty heinous there.
But as a singular villain, though, I don't.
That's
communism is almost
people who want to drag everybody else down and lift themselves up, which is how communism usually ends up.
Yeah, communism is more scary as a force. I mean, I've often said that the scariest communist villain in popular fiction is the Borg.
Well, right, absolutely, yeah. They're a great villain like that in that sense.
But as a singular, very compelling individual, it doesn't work primarily because communism doesn't lead to a very compelling individual. I mean, more often than not, the most compelling villains are the ones that have some manner of real virtue about them. It's just corrupted in some way, you know.
And the only good version of this would be like a person taking advantage of the communist movement to benefit himself.
I've got it. Oh, I've got it. Rebels antagonist could be like some type of media in-person, right? Who, kind of like a J. Jonah Jameson meets Kingpin. And that could be her antagonist throughout the series.
That's not a bad idea. You take something like, take kind of Jameson and sort of combine it with how Lex Luthor was in the 90s animated Batman. Where it's like a big, rich, powerful guy that all but owns this town kind of thing. And have, that'd be pretty fucking cool.
All right, get the word out to Vox Day.
No, he knows better.
I take my royalties and Monopoly money.
Because he just learned what a superhero is 4 months ago. So he knows. He knows it. All right, he got this shit down pat. Yeah, like I said, I just kept seeing red flag after red flag where it's like, my favorite superhero show is the least superhero-y one. I'm like, okay.
Someone put in the comments, Lex Soros.
Lex Soros? That's fantastic. Yeah, like I said, I'd love to see it successful. I just don't think it will be. And again, if the guy's got talented writers working under him, he's got talented artists, they could very easily produce something very much worthwhile. I kind of liken it to Reaction. When Roosh launched that gaming site, except Roosh was in a bit of a better position because he knew he didn't know or care about gaming. He knew right from the get-go, and he was all but open and honest about it, that he's being opportunistic. He saw a void that he thought he could fill in the market and attempted to do so. Now, in my opinion, Roosh's biggest problem was I don't think he gave it enough of a chance. Because again, his heart was never in it. It didn't pan out as quickly as he thought, so he's like, fuck it, whatever. That I think is my biggest problem. And again, I was very glad to be writing for Reaction. Roosh is one of the best bosses I ever had. None of this is to throw shade at Roosh. But with Vox Day, though, Vox doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who can admit defeat. So if it's going down in flames. B, again, there's that humility element. Roosh knew that he didn't know shit about gaming. He knew that he was just filling this void in the market because there was a void in the market, just because you're necessarily putting up the money to get something started, doesn't necessarily mean you know what to do about it. There comes a point where you got to just hire talented people and let them do their thing. And that's the best chance you have for success. I would worry that Vox is going to meddle too much in it, and he doesn't know about it. He really doesn't. And also, one of the biggest problems Reaction had, and I don't necessarily think this was entirely fair, but it was a problem they had, was, at the time, there was all the Gamergate stuff, and people were trying to force all this left-wing shoehorned politics out of their hobby. Well, there was the perception that all Reaction was trying to do is shoehorn some right-wing politics into their hobby. and the largely apolitical people who just wanted to play good video games wanted no part of that. There's going to be a certain backlash like that with Alt Hero. Again, primarily because of the name as well as who's involved. People are going to be like, just because I don't want to read SJW comics doesn't mean I want to read Nazi comics, is going to be what a lot of people are going to say.
Yeah, and that's why you need, you need to start to be a little bit more apolitical in that sense, be more subtle with what your message is.
Fair or not, that's going to be an objection launched against it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in one sense, I mean, having someone with a Confederate flag and it's called Alt Hero, I mean, that's not subtle at all. It's clear you're trying to send a message. And I mean, again, comic stories can have a political message, but, there's a sort of a fine line between entertainment, message, and, you kind of have to get cred before you can start pushing more of a message, and entertainment kind of thing, and entertainment and books and that kind of stuff.
I think the best way, in not just superhero comics, but sci-fi in general, the best way to make any kind of real point is to try to do it in a timeless way.
Yeah.
The X-Men, for example, is about identity politics and racial, politics and that sort of thing. But it's not about a particular racial issue of one time and place. It's not about black people versus white people. It's not about, apartheid in South Africa or the racial struggles in the Deep South or anything like that. It's just about broadly racial politics. It's there's a certain timeless element to it. The Civil War storyline from 2006 at Marvel, it wasn't about Bush and the Patriot Act. It was just broadly about, eroding liberty for the sake of security.
And technically, you could do that with the Star Wars prequels.
Yeah, I mean, they're sort of clumsy in my opinion, but they have that sort of same thing where there's a certain, they have certain things to say about things, and there's a certain timeless element to it.
It's scary how much the EU is looking like a Star Wars prequel movie right now. They're even raising an army.
Well, that's Blair White when he was attacked at that Trump rally or something.
This is hard.
Yeah, we can expect this kind of general response for the comic book release.
Again, yeah. I don't even know if it's getting a physical release. Who the hell knows? I think the name was a mistake, and I think it's one of many mistakes Vox is going to make.
Well, maybe it'll encourage other people with more talent and a little bit more humility to do stories of a similar vein. That'd be something good that can come from it, just.
Yeah, and even if it makes a little bit, even if it I wish it would be successful, because I wish it would, I wish it would scare the higher ups at Marvel and DC a little bit. I don't think it will, but I think there's going to be some change at Marvel and DC anyways, because, regardless of whether or not Alt Hero will sell, the fact of the matter is SJW Marvel is going to continue to not sell. I mean, hell, like I read almost no comic books anymore. And when I think back to the comics I have read over the last couple months, primarily I'm reading like crossovers, because that's like the only thing that's fun right now. Like there was a Power Ranger Justice League crossover. There was a Green Lantern Planet of the Apes crossover, which was way better than it had any right to be. Those are the only things that are like fun right now. And then, oddly enough, the Metal storyline at DC is better than it has any right to be. But primarily a lot of it, I mean, like, I don't read anything in Marvel right now. I think I read Scarlet Spider and Amazing Spider-Man Renew Your Vows, which isn't even part of the main Marvel universe. It's its own separate thing. It's like halfway between Spider-Man and The Incredibles. Yeah, hell, Archie versus Predator was better than most stuff. It's just a big goofy joke, and it was better.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thanks, Pastor Tom, for being on. Appreciate it. NC Clark, thanks for being on. I know your internet crapped out, so you kind of had to bail a little bit. Luke, thanks as always for your sidekick duties there.
Of course.
And yeah, that's about all we got for tonight, folks. If you enjoy the show, check out the Patreon, check out the PayPal link there, send me some shekels, and you can check out the sponsor, Aaron Clay Books. So yeah, that's all we got for tonight, folks. Thanks for listening. Bechtloff out.